Another thing that we're learning a lot about is language, and that's become a very hot topic of research in international management. And it's kind of a funny thing since, of course, it's always been there, but there's just, for whatever reason, a lot of new research going on in that area now. And some of the things we're learning in particular about research in global teams, in multicultural teams, is that, of course, usually they work in what we call a lingua franca, or a working language. But that means that for some people that is a very different language from their native language, and there's varying levels of proficiency in the team. And so we see a lot of different kinds of behaviors that sometimes can be adaptive and sometimes can be challenging. And some organizations are now mandating lingua franca policies. So they may say, for example, we're a German auto manufacturer and we're going to have a lingua franca of English. But that creates some awkward situations where, for example, Germans, who are the company headquarters, may be told to speak in English when they're working with German counterparts. And they feel like that loses the fidelity of what they're trying to communicate. So we're seeing that perhaps some flexibility in these policies might be better. Because we also see there's been some very interesting research coming out that status differences change in those organizations. So if you were once the primary language of your headquarters and now you've been told that your native language is no longer the language of the organization, you lose some of your ability to communicate, and that may lower your status. And so there are conflicts that are occurring in these teams now because of these policies. So one potential is to recognize there's value in a policy, because when we have people from different linguistic backgrounds, we have to have a way to communicate. But people need to have an opportunity to maybe sidebar occasionally to do what's called code switching, switch back into their native language to understand things better. And that often creates some level of friction in a team. People sometimes feel maybe suspicious. What are they talking about? They just switched over to speaking in Chinese. What's going on? I don't understand. But we have to, I think, develop, and maybe that's paired up with mindfulness, that's just maybe an adaptive response for people to catch up and understand. We're also looking at things like the idea of cultural brokerage or language brokerage, where people who might have higher levels of proficiency can reach out to a teammate and kind of translate, if you will, and help that teammate get caught up in the meeting, because it might be difficult if their proficiency isn't as high as everyone else in that working language. So I think these changes are important, but it's important to also understand how cognitively draining it is to work in a second language, and to provide maybe breaks, to let some of that communication be backed up by written communication, and to do maybe a little bit more double checking that actually people are on the same page and that people do actually understand what's been discussed when it hasn't been in their first language.